Now, the US Vice President has said that Washington has no plans to recognise a Palestinian state. He said that during a meeting with the Foreign Secretary, David Lammy.
Yes, J.D. Vance claimed both nations differ on how to handle Gaza, but they do share a common goal in ending the conflict.
This, however, has raised concerns about the future strength of their historic alliance.
We have no plans to recognize a Palestinian state. I don't know what it would mean to really recognize a Palestinian state, given the lack of a functional government there. You know, what the president has made very clear is our two goals are very simple right now vis-a-vis the situation in Israel and Gaza. Number one, we want to make it so that Hamas cannot attack innocent Israeli civilians ever again, and we think that has to come through the eradication of Hamas. Second, the president has been very moved by these terrible images of the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, so we want to make sure that we solve that problem.
Let's talk to Middle East correspondent and author Jotam Confino. I mean, what strikes me as being interesting from what J.D. Vance was saying there, Jotam, is that, you know, the White House agrees that Hamas has to be wiped out. So I wonder if that is, in effect, giving the thumbs up to Netanyahu's plans to, in effect, take over Gaza City.
I think that they are giving Netanyahu a green light to do not everything he wants, but when it comes to waging war against Hamas, there are almost no constraints put on Netanyahu or Israel by the United States. The only thing that Trump actually cares about right now is to improve the humanitarian situation, which is why they're now ramping up the efforts by GHF, the American-backed NGO, to have 16 distribution sites for humanitarian aid instead of 4. So the US has taken a much larger role here in trying to get more aid into Gaza. But in terms of waging war, I think Donald Trump knows that Israel doesn't really have much of a choice right now. Not that they have to go and occupy Gaza, but if they want to get the hostages out currently, the only way to do that is to surrender to Hamas, to give them pretty much what they ask for, to leave Gaza altogether, and to allow Hamas to still exist inside Gaza, because that's what Hamas is demanding right now.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private Internet Access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cybercriminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C-18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private Internet Access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GB News discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GB News to start protecting yourself digitally today.
Yes, and of course that must be very frightening for the families of the hostages still remaining somewhere within Gaza. We've seen images of at least 2 of them, haven't we, which have frightened everybody because they were so emaciated and clearly being very badly treated. This exacerbation and Netanyahu's absolute determination to go in there and flatten the place still further must be terrifying for a great many ordinary citizens in Israel.
Yes, you're right, especially for those who've actually been held hostage inside Gaza. Many of them said how scared they were when they heard either Israeli soldiers getting close to where they were, or especially of the bombings, because Israel does not know exactly where all of them are. So there is a great likelihood that they could be killed by friendly fire, so to say, by Israeli bombings. But also, we know that last year, for example, when Israeli soldiers got very, very close by chance to one of the places where Hamas held hostages, Hamas executed 6 hostages and left before the Israeli soldiers could get there. So the hostages, the former hostages, the families of the hostages are scared to death now that what's happening is essentially a death sentence to the hostages, because the further Israeli soldiers go into, let's say, Gaza City or other areas where hostages are held, the greater the likelihood of them being killed.
But what is the alternative? I mean, that's a legitimate question, isn't it?
Yeah, currently there aren't that many alternatives. Of course, there are certain levels in between surrendering to Hamas and then fully occupying Gaza. There are other things you could do. The army chief, Eyal Samir, who greatly opposed the military occupation of Gaza, has said he preferred to encircle some of those areas where hostages are still held, to do targeted raids, such as Gaza City. He's not in favor of sending tens of thousands of soldiers in to fully occupy Gaza for a number of reasons. First of all, it's going to endanger the hostages. Soldiers will be killed. Civilians will be caught in crossfire between Israel and Hamas. But also, the military is going to effectively have responsibility for 2 million civilians in Gaza running their daily lives, everything from food, electricity, water, infrastructure. It is a major undertaking, and the army is exhausted. Many of the soldiers have been in war for, some of them 670 days, while people in their 40s who have normal lives and jobs have been called up for reserves 4, 5, 6 times. It's an unimaginable situation to have a full-on occupation of Gaza right now.
Can I just ask you for your analysis on the sort of declaration of a recognition of a Palestinian state, as to what this, because this is where I struggle with it, because our Prime Minister has effectively said we would recognise a Palestinian state if Israel doesn't stop its offensive, which implies if Israel did, we wouldn't recognise a Palestinian state. And certainly Canada, Mark Carney, has said we will recognise a Palestinian state if Hamas disarms and sort of clears out the area, which also we know is basically not going to happen. So what actually are they promising to do?
Look, they're out of touch with reality. I hate to say it. Keir Starmer has no idea what's happening inside the Palestinian society, clearly, because if he knew, he would not give Hamas such a gift. He essentially told Hamas, if you keep waging war against Israel until September, you'll get a state. That's exactly what they said. They said, great, we're on our path to victory. What he should have said is that we are going to demand that Hamas lay down their weapons. We're going to put pressure on Qatar. We might even threaten with cutting diplomatic ties with Qatar if they don't hand over the leadership of Hamas, which they should have done 22 months ago. And only then, when Hamas is disarmed, when their leadership has been handed over so they can be prosecuted for war crimes, when only all of that can happen, we can start talking about a recognition of Palestine. But as long as Hamas is still existing inside Gaza, as long as you still have hostages in torture dungeons, you're sending a very, very wrong signal to Hamas and to anyone else who thinks that violence is the way forward to get what they want.